Hey, peace. Welcome back to another episode of the Money Codes. My name is Joe, here to give you today's Money Code fix. And on today's episode, I'm going to be talking about Wells Fargo because they're in the news yet again. And I don't know why, but it seems like anytime I do a video on Wells Fargo, aside from a couple of the credit cards that actually look nice and I actually did recommend, they're still putting themselves in a lot of trouble. You can see on the screen, number one, I'm on Bloomberg.com right now. So yesterday I saw this article posted on Bloomberg's website. You can see here it says, Wells Fargo rejected half its black applicants in mortgage refinancing boom. Fewer than half of the black applicants were approved by the biggest bank mortgage lender. Again, this was posted literally yesterday. So I basically took some notes and I'm going to give you the high level ideas of what's going on, what are the stats showing, because Bloomberg did a heck of a job pulling the curtains back and really showing what are the numbers looking like when it comes to black homeowners that were looking to refinance. They literally did a case study on a Microsoft engineer who had a credit score of over 800, who was married to a doctor who also had A1 credit. Their income were multiple six figures, yet they were told that they were not able to get their home refinanced. Initially, when this gentleman went to Wells Fargo, because of his income, because of his credit, the loan officer basically told him, hey, you can basically get fast track because everything looks right. He paid the $560 application fee. Everything on paper looked great for him. Long story short, he did not get the fast track appraisal. He was told that the area that he was living in, perhaps the area was not eligible for the fast track. He was then told that he would have to pay a higher interest rate. Again, this is someone who has a prime credit profile. He was told that he would have to pay 4.5%. And then at the end of all of this, Wells Fargo told him he was not able to get approved for this refinance. If you're not aware, over the past couple of years, I believe 2 years to be exact, almost $5 trillion in mortgages were refinanced in the last 24 months. The reason for that is it's a seller's market, so the interest rates have been incredibly low. I believe the lowest that they've been in almost 2 decades. In addition to that, home prices have steadily been increases over the past several years. So you have a conjunction of incredibly low interest rates with high home values. This is going to be a prime time, ideal time to refinance if you're able to. What will be the benefits of that? Again, they're calling this a wealth creation event. So refinancing allows homeowners to save on interest. So let's say 6 years ago, I bought a home for $150,000. And let's say 6 years later in 2022, the home is now worth $220,000, meaning it appreciated about $70,000. And if you look across the nation, that's pretty much happening, if not more so, in certain zip codes. So let's say I have $70,000 in equity built into my home. So let's say my interest rate was 5.5 6 years ago because my credit wasn't the best. And now I'm able to refinance my home for 2 3/4, right? So I'm almost able to slash my interest rate, and then at the same time, I'm able to pull out equity from my home because it appreciated, right? What am I able to do with that money? I'm not only able to save and keep more money in my pocket by having a lower interest rate, that $60,000, $70,000 that I'm able to take out of my home, I'm able to use that money and put my kids into better schools. I'm able to take that money along with my good credit score, and now I'm able to open up my business. Or I'm able to take that money and let's say I found a investment property in my neighborhood. I could use that income producing property to pay my bills, and then I can have my children's children be able to reap the fruits of my investment. This is literally how generational wealth is created. And if you've been paying attention to the news, you're going to realize that the Fed is going to increase the interest rate to offset inflation. So that means if you weren't able to refinance or if you weren't able to lock in the low interest rate that we've been seeing over the last couple of years, you're going to miss the boat. And we don't know the next time we're going to see that opportunity. If you are a minority, you're going to see how not only this is going to affect you, but your entire community. So here we are on the next slide. This is the approval rate, and it's showing you the income disparity. And I'm going to show you what the disparity is looking like in black and white. So if you look at the chart right here, if you are a white applicant who was trying to get a loan or a refinance from Wells Fargo, if you had an income for $63,000, you basically have the same approval rate of someone who's black, whose income is $168,000. So I'm going to repeat that again. If you're white and you're going to Wells Fargo and you're making $63,000, you're going to have the same approval rate as a black applicant who's making almost 3 times as you at $168,000 in annual income. So again, this was the guy that they did the article based on. Again, he had an 800 credit score. He was a Microsoft engineer, married to a doctor. And the property that he was trying to refinance wasn't the property that he was currently living in. I believe he and his wife are living out in the suburbs somewhere. He still had a property that was located in a predominantly black neighborhood that he turned into a rental property. So more than likely, he was trying to refinance his second property and do what I said in the beginning of this video, probably take the equity out and then buy another property in the same zip code, right? Continue to make your money, make more money. This is how a lot of investors build their portfolio. They start with 1 or 2, pull out equity, get a third, and they build so on and so on. So if you have an 800 FICO score, if you and your spouse have multiple 6 figures in annual income, yet you're told that you're not able to refinance your own property because of the area that it's in, that's a huge red flag. That's basically redlining, but I'm going to touch on that at the end of this video. So what about the other lenders? How do they stack up? You can see here the disparity by lender. For Wells Fargo, white applicants have 72% approval rates, Asians 67, Hispanics 53, black 47. So once again, if you are a black homeowner trying to refinance through Wells Fargo, regardless of what your credit profile looks like, you might as well just flip a coin and that'll likely be your percentage of whether or not you're going to get approved or not. So the average of the other lenders, and again, all these stats are coming from Bloomberg. Other lenders average 87% approval ratings for white applicants, 85 for Asians, 79 for Hispanics, and then 71 for black applicants. But you can see here, black applicants are going to be in last place compared to other races that are applying. But it's only Wells Fargo. Only Wells Fargo is the approval rate under 50%. So when I hear about the racial disparity among the races of the applicants, this reminds me of an article, and I'm just going to pull this up right here. Again, this is from the Department of Justice. The Justice Department reaches a settlement with Wells Fargo, resulting in more than $175 million in relief for homeowners to resolve fair lending claims. African Americans and Hispanic borrowers who qualify for loans and were charged higher fees or rates or were improperly placed into subprime loans are eligible for compensation. So not only do we see the disparity with the sub 50% approvals for black applicants now in 2022, they've been accused of doing similar things about a decade ago. If you were black or Hispanic and you were trying to get a loan, even if you had a great credit score, you had a great credit profile, they were steering minorities into subprime or higher interest rate loans compared to other races. The Department of Justice today filed the second largest fair lending settlement in the department's history to resolve allegations that Wells Fargo Bank, the largest residential home mortgage originator in the U.S., engaged in a pattern or practice of discrimination against qualified African American and Hispanic borrowers in its mortgage lending from 2004 through 2009. The settlement provides $184.3 million in compensation for wholesale borrowers who were steered into subprime mortgages or who paid higher fees and rates than white borrowers because of their race or national origin. Let's see what Wells Fargo had to say. And again, all of these quotes, all of these stats are coming straight from the Bloomberg website. Wells Fargo, which declined to comment about individual customers, didn't dispute Bloomberg's statistical findings. It says it treats all potential borrowers the same and is more selective than other lenders. An internal review of the bank's 2020's refinancing decisions confirmed that additional legitimate credit-related factors were responsible for the differences. But even when taking selectivity into account, the San Francisco-based bank had by far the worst record among major lenders when it came to refinancing black homeowners, according to Bloomberg's analysis of Home Mortgage Disclosure Act data for 8 million completed applicants to refinance conventional loans in 2020. So you can see here, this is not a very small sample size. This is not like they took 1 or 2 branches and figured out what's going on. This data is coming from over 8 million applicants. And for me, that is a large enough sample size to get a good picture of what's going on here. So all this just reminds me of this. Redlining. If you're not aware of redlining, this picture right here on the right hand side, you can literally see how different areas of the city, this is Brooklyn, you can see different areas of the city. Some areas are in red, some are in yellow, some are in green. So what lenders, appraisers, insurance companies, what they were able to do legally prior to 1968, lenders were able to literally take a map of the city and draw a red line across certain boundaries, across certain zip codes. So if there was a zip code or a radius or a block that was predominantly black, Hispanic, or other non-white, they will go ahead and just put a red line around that boundary. And if you were in that red boundary, if you were inside of that red line, you weren't going to get a loan. Doesn't matter what your credit was, doesn't matter how much money you had. If you were inside of that red line, you were not going to get any money. And of course, when we're trying to develop a neighborhood, when we're trying to bring up a community, you're going to need to have loans to fix up and revitalize neighborhoods and parks and schools and businesses. Otherwise, you're going to have projects in the hoods and the ghetto remain the ghetto, and money's not able to be filtered through these neighborhoods. So again, this is literally a picture of what redlining looks like. Red lines were drawn to separate hazardous and declining from desirable areas. And it just so happened to be that all of the desirable areas were the zip codes and streets in the neighborhood that were predominantly white. And all of the declining neighborhoods, once again, coincidentally, were filled with black folk. And then, as I mentioned before, the Fair Housing Act of 1968 was passed to fight discrimination based on race or national origin. So this law was passed to make sure that lenders, appraisers, insurance company, it made it illegal for them to basically say, oh, that street over there, that's the hood, we're not going to loan out to that side of town. They made that illegal. But, and let me go back, Wells Fargo is basically saying that they are not redlining. They're saying that they have additional legitimate credit related factors that were responsible for the differences. And again, you let me know, maybe I'm bugging, but let me know what kind of credit related factors will go into the underwriting to have someone who, again, was an 800 plus credit score, multiple six figures in joint income, who was not able to get a loan refinanced in a less desirable neighborhood. If that does not sound like redlining to me in 2022, please let me know what it sounds like to you. So at the end of the day, this is very unfortunate, but at the same time, it's not surprising. So one of the reasons why I even made this channel was to make sure that information like this can be easily spread out. You may not be able to see this on your timeline. I'm not sure if you were even aware of this. Information about how to improve our credit, information about how to look at your credit profile. I want to make sure that we as a community are able to find information like this. I want to make sure that this information is out there so that we are aware of it. And let me go back to the Bloomberg page. I just want to go back to this image. So even if you're doing very well for yourself, you have a great job, you have a great credit score, you can see that if you are a minority in the US, according to these stats, when it comes to home ownership, credit, being able to even refinance our own property, it's going to be a little bit more challenging than if you were someone of a different race. So I don't want to use this information to discourage you or to paint everyone as the victim. I want to make sure that we're able to see how this game, again, really works. This is my opinion. This is coming from Bloomberg.com. We have to make sure to educate ourselves. We need to make sure to educate our communities, because this was not initially set up to be for us. We're still going to have to catch up at the end of the day. But regardless, this is the data for today. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if I missed something. Let me know if there's a different perspective, because I am genuinely interested in hearing what you guys have to say about this. And aside from that, if you're not already, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification. Have a blessed one. Peace.